Welcome and hope you're doing well. We're going to talk about the 5 multicultural things we learned about Trevor Phillips and reveal those highs and lows. Hopefully it will inspire or even motivate you, as we only judge a person by their character, not race, color or religion. So please join our multicultural family if you are new. My name is Bobby Sayed. I am the founder of the Emma Show. As you can see from these articles, Trevor Phillips didn't have an easy life. Let's hear from Trevor, who has been one of the oldest minorities in the British television industry and started working at LWT, better known as the London Weekend Television, and recently on Sky News every Sunday morning to quiz those various politicians. Trevor has also been a great friend to the Emma Initiative from the start, as he totally understood its purpose in a growing racially divided world to create some form of unity through social cohesion. It seems that many do still want a divided and rule the world through their divisive politics, who have deliberately got the meaning of UK multiculturalism wrong, that Trevor once fell into the trap of. However, our definition is unity through our cultural evolution, not creating any of those ghetto communities.
I was lucky enough to win an Emma Award. I've also won 3 Royal Television Society Awards, and I put my Emma Award up there with them for one simple reason. The Emma Award isn't just the award for the best black guy around this year. It's a recognition of the best work that's been done, full stop. And that's why it's important. Emma doesn't put us in boxes with ancestral labels on, and that's why it's so important. So, by the way, now that the BBC's lost the best Director General it could ever have had, it's now got a Jewish chair and a Catholic DG for the first time. And maybe next time round we'll see a black woman as chair and an Asian Muslim Director General, and Emma will be in prime time on BBC One.
Number 1, resilience. Trevor Phillips OBE was born on the 31st of December 1953 in Islington, London. Him and his younger brother and future writing collaborator, Mike Phillips, were the first generation out of the Windrush crossing from the Caribbean. Their mother and father came from Guyana and wanted better opportunities for their children. Although Trevor had experienced social racism at a young age in London, during a time when Britain held on to its racist colonial past, frequent trips to Guyana removed him from the ignorance of discrimination. Guyana was also experiencing changes through its social liberation from British colonialism following the end of the Second World War under the new democratic rule of Forbes Burnham. The family settled back in Wood Green, North London in the early 1960s, where he attended Wood Green Country Grammar School. He was a bright student and took an interest in history and science. His parents later enrolled him at Queen's College in Guyana to study at A-level, where he found himself amongst many other different South American communities. He returned to London to study for a Bachelor in Science in Chemistry at the renowned Imperial College, turning down a scholarship at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Trevor began developing an interest in social politics, attending student rallies, joining the broad left student body, and even becoming the university's first black president at the National Union of Students. Trevor married Aisha Poganagri, a Parsi child psychotherapist with Indian ancestry, in 1981. They went on to have 2 daughters, one of whom, Shoshila, unfortunately died in April 2021 due to a history of anorexia. Number 2, passion. After finishing university, Trevor worked as a researcher for the London Weekend Television Network. He found himself involved in shows like This Week and Did You See, before being given the opportunity to write and present for the current affairs programme, the London programme. Not before long, in 1992, Trevor became the head of current affairs for the network and went on to produce shows like the miniseries Black and White in Colour, which saw Trevor rub shoulders with cultural figures like Stuart Hall. Trevor was finally given the platform to spread his true multicultural values. He soon began making public appearances on other shows, such as Have I Got News For You, as well as amongst left-wing political circles, leading him a position in the New Labour project and formally becoming a party member in 1996. His influence on TV programming was finally becoming recognised in many circles. In 1998, Trevor and his brother Mike wrote Windrush, The Irresistible Rise of Multiracial Britain. The book captures what it was like for Black Caribbean travelling to Britain in the Empire Windrush and how they were to become the symbolic founders of Britain's Black community. The book went on to lay the foundation for Trevor's TV documentaries, Windrush, A New Generation and Britain's Slave Trade, produced under the banner of Pepper Production, which he founded in 1998. The show went on to win the Emma Awards and later on 3 Royal Television Society Awards, establishing Trevor to be a formidable storyteller for those discriminated against in society. Here is Trevor at the Emmas in 1999, where he gives a speech to be remembered towards our many British multicultural contributions.
I wanted to say that this was a labour of love. It was possibly the most important thing that I've ever been involved in television. But it wasn't my effort, it was a team effort. And I particularly wanted to have with me David Upshaw, who produced and directed it, and Mensah, who led the research, and Mike Flood-Page, who's executive producer for the BBC. The point about Windrush was that it was a British story. For the first time, we were allowed to say that we belong here. We are not part of some foreign history, we're part of British history. We're here to stay. I hope it's not going to be another 50 years before somebody allows us to be on the platform again. Some of us will find some other platforms. I don't know, maybe I'll find another one in the next year or so. Hi, Jeffrey. Anyway, there are a lot of people to thank, all the people who worked on it, my partner, Charles Armitage at Pepper Productions. This was important to us. But I guess the people that we have to thank most of all are the 492, because they led the way, they were pioneers, they made the journey first.
Number 3, discipline. In 1999, Trevor ran as Labour candidate for the Mayor of London, having had a close relationship with the Prime Minister Tony Blair. Although losing to Ken Livingstone, he became a member of the London Assembly, which he quickly became the chair of in 2000. The candidate race sparked national controversy when it was leaked that Trevor had refused to run alongside Ken Livingstone. That same year, Trevor was appointed an officer of the British Order of the British Empire by Queen Elizabeth II for his services in journalism to this country. This truly highlights why Trevor continues to be a strong voice in the world of multiculturalism, as shown through Emma. In 2003, Trevor joined the Commission for Racial Equality, a non-departmental public body that aimed to address racial discrimination and promote racial equality. This would subsequently be changed to the Equality and Human Rights Commission in 2006. This had made the issue around racial inequality very weak by diluting it alongside those other causes that are deserving but separate from a racial perspective. However, it was an experiment at the time. Trevor made a number of appearances across TV, including the TV documentary The Real Shirley Bassey, as well as the Sunday programme. In 2005, Trevor also travelled to France to help defuse the country's riots that had been caused earlier that year due to police brutality. This rewarded Trevor with the Legion of Honour by French Prime Minister Dominique de Villepin. Number 4, risk-taking. Britain has always been a multi-ethnic society. Even before the Romans, these islands were home to a range of tribes, all described as British. There is no doubt that cultural and ethnic differences, once thought to mark people as foreigners, now are a significant part of our lives, and above all, British culture. While multiculturalism can be seen as a way of celebrating different cultures, Trevor claimed during his time at the Equality and Human Rights Commission that the mere celebration of diversity does nothing to address inequality and in fact encourages separateness between communities. This was leading to the ghettoization of the term multicultural by encouraging separation, not inclusion. So even this term was bastardized to suit certain political agendas. He claimed that it was time for Britain to move from the divisive 80s-style multiculturalist policies, but defining multicultural again wrongly, to inevitably cause a stir amongst Britain's extreme activists, creating debate throughout the country and the world. This ultimately meant that under Trevor's leadership at the Equality and Human Rights Commission, 6 of the body's commissioners departed after expressing concerns about his radical views on multiculturalism and diversity. Whether it's a case that Trevor failed to define the word multiculturalism in its proper sense without falling into a bastardized version, that at the time was about creating those perfect ghettos so that some of the minorities can hide a way in for whatever reason. Citing the work of Eric Hoffman, Trevor's hard-nosed approach to sensitive topic of race has not only gone on to pave movements such as Black Lives Matter, but also encouraged the country to start considering the harsh reality of those discriminated against. Trevor even went as far as to expose the Labour government approach to multiculturalism, who had claimed that immigrants were doomed to become ghetto-bound minorities, speaking up against the political party that helped pave the way for his political career. Truly shows his strength of character. It was clear that the Labour Party had taken the minority vote for granted, leading to regular criticism of the neoliberals or the far left. Ironically, there are more ethnic minority Secretary of States in the Tory party today than in the entire history of the Labour Party. Clearly, in a meritocracy, even the good ethnic minorities should be given a chance to unite our nation. Trevor claims that integration between ethnicities can only work if both recognises differences of immigrants and understands the groundwork of British culture. This way, diversity can actually be enacted rather than just passively celebrated. However, with Generation Z, through the TikTok age, character is greater than defining one's race, once initially spun from colonial politics. Trevor's argument against their definition of the word multiculturalism parallels the changing attitudes and composition of Britain. 4/5 of the Afro-Caribbeans living in Britain are actually born in the UK as well. He mentions that other communities are catching up, with 86% of the country now saying that they don't have to be white to be British, according to government website research. Emma has been in the forefront to campaign towards this since 1997. That clearly states through our campaigns, we are all British regardless of your race, colour or religion. British history is ultimately multicultural history, which is evolution. He has also come to the conclusion that their own multicultural definition is a better policy in theory than in practice because it can, in some circumstances, allow public funds to be used to establish the power of the community leaders, isolating them from mainstream society and thus sleepwalking into segregation. As Trevor puts it, however, this public division, based on social division, has entrenched minorities who benefit from this easy money to accept the ghettoized version of multiculturalism, to create their ghettoized kingdoms of isolation at the expense of the British-born minorities who need to and want to integrate across Britain. Nonetheless, Trevor expanded on these views in 2016 with the publication of an article, Race and Faith, The Deafening Silence, in which he said that squeamishness about addressing diversity and its discontent risk allowing our country to sleepwalk to a catastrophe that will set community against community, endorse sexist aggression, suppress freedom of expression, reverse hard-won civil liberties, and undermine the liberal democracy that has served this country so well for so long. The irony here is that the benefactors of this type of division created by the white establishment is the far right, who claim minorities are aliens in every sense of the word. There is more risk of homegrown terrorism through the white supremacy than ever before by fueling this type of us and them narrative since the 1980s. Number 5. Communication. Trevor has continued making appearances across television, including Jonathan Dimbleby, BBC Breakfast and BBC News at 6, where he would be discussing and reviewing Parliament's latest appointments, such as the change of the Conservative Party and the Labour Party leadership. In 2010, he was investigated regarding alleged attempts to influence a parliamentary committee during his assessment. He would have been the first non-politician in over half a century to have been convicted of contempt of Parliament. But the Laws Committee found that the allegations were subjective and that no firm factual evidence is presented in their support. Around the same time, Trevor founded the National Equality Standard and was soon appointed the president of the Partnership Council of John Lewis. Here, Trevor was able to assess the level of diversity across the retail partnership. Trevor would go on to produce more career-defining work, including the acclaimed Things We Don't Say About Race That Are True and Has Political Correctness Gone Mad? Starring controversial political figures like Nigel Farage, they served as a brutal examination of Britain's multicultural policies that once again bastardized the word multicultural for their political means and gains. While Trevor suggests that quite wrongly we should kill off the world's multiculturalism because it causes separateness, we have to make sure that the celebrations are not at the expense of basic universal principles. However, the word diversity and equality is misused as well, as it doesn't support the British Muslims, who are subjected to ongoing racism that no other minority group really even cares about. Most recently, Trevor has guest starred on talk shows like Sky News, Today and Question Time. Circa this year, he has also gone on to write and produce for Good Morning Britain and Sky News Breakfast. In March of 2020, Trevor was suspended from the Labour Party following allegations from the Labour Muslim Network, claiming Trevor to be Islamophobic on the grounds of his stance taken in recent documentaries. Although the ban was lifted in July 2021, some Muslim supporters remain sceptical of his views. There clearly is a lack of communication. However, with a new breed of British Muslim YouTubers, there should be a better understanding of what it is like to be a true British Muslim. The unfortunate passing away of Trevor's daughter, Cecilia, in April 2021 to anorexia continues to be a difficult time for the campaigner. The freelance journalist was 36, working under the wing of her father. Over the course of his career in politics, Trevor has been an advocate for many different charity groups and non-profit organizations. In 2005, following the release of Who Are You Calling a Trevor became a member of the Royal Television Society, acting as a beacon for diversity in the industry. He eventually went on to be the vice chairman of the society. Later in 2017, Trevor began serving as a non-executive director of the consultancy group Green Park Interim. His values of promoting diversity and racial equality has shaped the group's services in supplying leadership recruitment. Trevor is also the chairman of the campaign group Index on Censorship, who fought to defend free expression by publishing works of censored writers and artists across the globe. Helping coordinate the Freedom of Expression Awards Fellowship, Trevor continues to remain an important masthead for the group. Earlier on in his career, Trevor also became a senior fellow at the Policy Exchange, the UK's biggest think tank, a body of experts providing advice on social and political problems. Trevor's work has helped shape government policies like pupil premium and free schooling. In summary, Trevor was the product of his multicultural upbringing in both Britain and Guyana, where he would frequently travel to see family. He began to see the racial divide between the different societies, bearing witness to social and institutional racism whilst living in London. This shaped his interest in history as well as his left-wing political views. Why don't you leave us a comment about his time at Imperial College London? Was it important for his involvement in civil rights and becoming the first black president of the National Union of Students and attending student rallies? Mixing with a wealth of different races developed his understanding of the word multicultural, and he understood the need to be the voice for those ignored by society. We'd really appreciate a like or even a subscribe, and if possible, please donate on Patreon, however little the amount, to support this channel's ongoing mission to undertake multicultural campaigns. And remember, it's what's inside that counts, a motto we have used at the Emmas. As Trevor has proved, you have to be very controversial to create change, as many are too lazy for any type of change, especially if they are filthy rich. So until next time, thank you for watching, and keep it multicultural with this proper definition clearly defined from this video.